Hello and welcome back to Miss Hannah Loves Grammar. In this video I'll be making some comparative links between Sonnet 116 by William Shakespeare and the novella by F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Great Gatsby. So Shakespeare's sonnets were dedicated to a mystery W.H. whose identity has never been confirmed, though there is much speculation it could be the Earl of Pembroke or William Herbert, who was the benefactor or one of many benefactors that Shakespeare had, so much so that in 1623 the first folio was dedicated to him. There's also a sense that the fair youth being addressed in sonnets 1 to 126 could be William Herbert also, for he was a man who was highly regarded, much revered for his talents, and definitely prompted by many to get married and urged to get married, and that seems to be the role of the fair youth whom Shakespeare is using his speaker to comment on and speak to. Now, the fact there's so much mystery around who W.H. is, who the fair youth is actually our first connection to the Great Gatsby, because surely the exploration that Fitzgerald presents for us with Gatsby is the fact that we just don't know how he is great. He is shrouded in mystery also. In many ways, his devotion to Daisy mirrors this enigmatic quality about himself. We can't quite place how this love can transcend time when he has so much that has happened between when they first acknowledged their love and how her life has moved on. Now, Shakespeare structures his sonnet as a parody of Petrarch, the 14th century love poet, in a way to acknowledge the inversion of conventional gender roles, to complete our understanding and depict human love in more complex terms. Now, Fitzgerald draws attention also to conventional expectations, but in a sense, the gendered nature of that, women being caught between old money expectations and the flapper world meaning nothing in terms of safety. Instead, we're really forming questions in each text about the ways in which true love can take hold. And it seems that Fitzgerald questions true love's existence, yet it would seem Shakespeare tries to define true love's existence. So the links between these two texts are quite significant. It would seem to me that the perceptions of what true love should embody is at the heart of each text. Questioning love as wealth, as well as contemplating the expectations of women in love. Now, the difference between the state of love in the poem and the novella is simple. The speaker in Shakespeare's poem seems fulfilled and joyous about love, so much so that in other sonnets the fair youth is being urged to consider that contract of love called marriage. Yet it would seem in Fitzgerald's novella, Gatsby, alongside every character in the novel, remains without love, even though he seeks to have it. And true love is the thing that is lost across the text. So before we get into the detail of how the sonnet and the novella match up, I'd urge you to hit pause, read the sonnet of its own accord and form your own links to Gatsby. And if you're truly stuck on what exactly is going on with Sonnet 116, why not hit the description link below to my analysis video on Sonnet 116 to help you on your way. So, this poem is a manifesto for love. When it says, "Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments," true minds as a phrase really pleads with us to consider how different the minds are in their marriages in The Great Gatsby. True implies virtue, it implies honesty. And at the heart of Tom and Daisy's marriage, lies live. Lies that wreck their marriage and their happiness, but there's an indifference to address those struggles. Equally, the marriage between Myrtle and Wilson is riddled with lies, though for Wilson, he is not aware of impediments until it's brought to his attention. I love that this poem defines what love isn't first. It's not love when it changes. when something else changes. And I think that's where we have to call into question the relationship that Gatsby and Daisy once had with what it is now. By line 4, or bends with the remover to remove, you're not going to be changed by the fact that someone's taken their affection away. My question to you, though, is the remover that really hurts Daisy, Tom, or Gatsby? The fact that it's an ever-fixed mark, it doesn't change, seems so different to the reality of Daisy's affection, where she reads the letter, receives the pearls, drunk on her wedding day, missing Gatsby, but she's a changed woman. The allusion to an ever-fixed mark that we repeatedly get across The Great Gatsby is the image of the green light. And there's a definite connection, actually, between that and what Shakespeare's imagery is hinting at. That looks on tempests and is never shaken, it is the star to every wandering bark. The star to every wandering bark may well be the northern stars. And the green light has a reference to that also. If you like, the boats are guided home by those lights. And so are the boats against the tide, Daisy and Tom in their dysfunctional marriage? And is Gatsby the tempest or wind that is blowing in the distance? Does he ever really take hold? In line 8, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. It's such a great link to Gatsby, whose worth is unknown. He is a mystery to us. We don't know what he really does. And so much of the speculation about his character is what fuels our understanding as to how he's allowed to be described as great. Now, by the Volta in line 9, love's not time's fool, but Gatsby is. He has been fooled by the fact that time has passed, for he believes that Daisy is still going to be the same, when we know that cannot be the case. And this is where I think Fitzgerald is incredibly skilled at pushing us to question the existence of true love. We see unhappy marriages, sexual desires overriding commitment. And time is, in fact, not solving love's problems. In many ways, it's helping people like Tom accrue more names of people they've cheated on their wife with. Or in Myrtle's case, leads her ever closer to destruction of her own life. And there's an interesting parallel also that the sonnet talks about how even the ends of life cannot stop you loving someone. Even to the edge of doom you would bear it out. Yet by the end of our novel we have dead characters. The losers in love, if you like, the suicide of Myrtle, Gatsby dead, waiting for Daisy to call. Is that really the best that true love can do? And that leads us to the end of the sonnet, that rhyming couplet. If this be error and upon me proved, I never writ nor no man ever loved. That's quite an aggressive statement of confidence. If this is all wrong, then maybe no one's ever loved properly. And there definitely seems to be a link there between how Nick's truth in his narrative is revealed to us. In chapter 9, he talks about the careless people who retreated back into their own reckless existence. That purposeful crafting between both poetic voice and our narrator share how chilling true love's purpose is. But we get a sense that there is no true love in Gatsby, just illusion of what love is, a colossal illusion in fact. And the mystery maintains itself about Gatsby. Now, these are just a starter for you, and I'm now going to go into more depth about exactly where you can pull out references from the novella as a whole. Our job now is to build some stronger links with evidence between Gatsby and the poem. So lines 2 and 3, love is not love, which alters when it alteration finds. Simple enough, love should be true. Yet there are two things that seem to strike us in the novella as a whole. In chapter 5, the awkward afternoon tea in the rain, the narrator states there must have been moments even that afternoon when Daisy tumbled short of his dreams, and the sense that maybe the thing that's been fueling the love for Gatsby is the illusion of what it could have been, rather than the actual reality, because he's never had to confront it. And Fitzgerald's description later in this section is as a colossal vitality of his illusions. The idea of love as an illusion springs to mind here. But equally, love has altered in the decision that Daisy takes. Let's just question here. What does she do when she reads Gatsby's letter? She gets drunk, even though she doesn't usually drink. She gets upset, but she still chooses to alter her status and be married to Tom, suggesting that deep down, her pragmatic understanding of society means that love is secondary to what is expected of her. So does she then reject the remover who removes themselves? So line 4, or bends with the remover to remove. Depending on who you see the remover as, Tom or Gatsby, there's a question. When it's stated, I'm going to fix everything the way it was before, Gatsby's decision there, nodding determinedly, doesn't seem like it can really, in reality, happen. Can we ever fix affection that was once made in secret? Isn't the fact that Gatsby is unable to do this proof that removing affection and then just planting yourself back in a hope that time has stood still cannot happen? So lines 6 and 7, that looks on tempest and is never shaken, it's the star to every wandering bark, is simple. Love is constant. And that's the big shift, actually, between the poem and the novella. Our speaker sees love as constant. And Fitzgerald notes how, in many ways, Gatsby and Tom offer Daisy completely opposite perspectives of what her love should be for them. This moment in chapter 7, her frightened eyes told whatever intentions, whatever courage she had had, were definitely gone, is the biggest sin that she could commit to Gatsby. He cannot forgive that she is not able to show her love for him, even though she is married. Yet Tom's words, slightly later than that description, go on, he won't annoy you. I think he realised that his presumptuous little flirtation is over. It's so telling. In a sense, Tom is constant. He's constantly indifferent to their marriage. It means so little. And so we've got these polar opposites of intensity from Gatsby and, frankly, irrelevance in the way that Tom seeks to manage their marriage. His idea that she's cheated is irrelevant because he does it all the time. But in each sense, love is not the word to describe either relationship. And in many ways, Daisy's pragmatic attitude at the end of the novella, staying with Tom, resonates more deeply with her decision in that time rather than anything else. Now, in line 9, love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks. And I've chosen this moment after she had obliterated 4 years with that sentence, they could decide upon the more practical measures to be taken. This is as if speaking through the stream of consciousness that Gatsby has. He believes that Daisy will be true, regardless of the fact that time has moved on. And in many ways that mirrors the sentiment of the Volta. Love is not time's fool. But the fool does seem to be Gatsby, because that notion of love in their relationship is an illusion as the novella unfolds, which is all the more harrowing, tragic a reality. Now in line 11, love alters not with his brief hours and weeks. Damn. You can't change the past, Why, of course you can, says Gatsby. That blind optimism, shared with Nick, is the futility of love at its core in The Great Gatsby. Nick is stating a fact. What's done is done. But Gatsby longs for the belief that, no, actually, it's always the same if it truly is love. Which leads us to the last couplet. If this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. Let's be clear, Gatsby dies waiting for Daisy to call. To my mind, he's a martyr to her cause and what he believes his cause should be. One of the most damning quotations across the whole novella is in chapter 9, when we realise the seething anger that Nick has. When he says that Tom and Daisy retreated back into their money and their vast carelessness, or whatever it was that kept them together, and let other people clean up the mess they'd made. I'm saying to you that I think there's a link between the final 2 lines of the poem and Nick's point of view. They end in the same way. But which one do you have more closure over? It's harder to feel at peace with the fact that Daisy's happy to be in her loveless marriage because she has no choice, and happy isn't the right word. She's trapped. But equally, I love the confidence of our poetic voice. If this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. It's like, well, if you can't find the proof yourself, okay, maybe it's all made up and maybe no one's ever loved. And that seems to be the same poignant moment that we end these texts with. At the heart of each text is the power play of what true love is. Yet Fitzgerald is questioning love, and I'd say Shakespeare is ever more clear about defining what love is against what it cannot be. Best of luck, and I hope this offers some advice and tips for you as you go forward. Why not subscribe to Miss Hannah Loves Grammar for all things English, literary and grammatical?